Okay, so time to explain the last 6 weeks of my life and hospital stay with my operation. So here goes. Right, I went into hospital on the 22nd of August to have the operation done. Got into Bournemouth at 7:10 it was, and then had to speak with the doctors, do all the check-ins, stuff like that, and they gave me the choice of what foot they were doing first. I opted for the right foot because um, I'm left-handed, so my left side of my body's always been my dominant, obviously, because I'm left-handed, so I use my left hand for writing, and my left foot's always been better than my right, so I thought, get the worst foot out the way first, and it did turn into being the worst foot. So, yeah, what they done was they stretched my Achilles tendon, took ligament and bones out of my foot, replaced it with metalwork, then they fused my foot into a 90 degrees angle. The complication with the operation was it lasted a lot longer than they intended because of all the stuff they had to take out and the metalwork they put in. It was meant to be a 2.5 hour operation. It then turned into about a 6 hour operation, I think it was. And yeah, the complication with it, there's skin down there because my foot previously had been in that horrible position for so many years. The skin no longer had any elastication to it, so when it become time for them to stitch me up, there just wasn't enough give in the skin for it to fully go over, so they had to get rid of the skin, which then left me with a hole in my foot, and well, I didn't know at the time because I was asleep, but I got told when I first woke up and come round. So yeah, I woke up in Bournemouth after the operation, and I was hooked up to this machine which I'd never seen in my life before. It was no bigger than like a little beer cooler to put drinks in, a little small one, and basically what it was doing was it was placed over where the open wound was, and it was basically sucking out all the bad stuff out of that wound and keeping it alive, and it was meshing like flesh and stuff back together and sort of closing the wound and like healing it temporarily, because every time I saw it when they cleaned it and stuff, it did look like it was getting better and better each time. So yeah, after the operation, when I woke back up, my surgeons and people come around see me, my consultants, things like that. The operation went fantastically, apart from just the skin problem. Come the Wednesday night time, I woke up because my vac machine started bleeping. Obviously, I didn't know what it was, so I called for the nurse. The nurse come in, and she didn't know what she was doing either because she wasn't trained in using the vacs, but she looked at the display of it and it said that the pack was full and needed to be changed. She couldn't do it because she wasn't trained in it, so they had to go call for another nurse, and it took about an hour for this nurse to come up that was trained in using the machine. She was the only one in the whole night of Bournemouth that night that knew how to use it, and she had to come from a different ward, so that's why it took so long. She come up, changed the pack on it, put a new one on. It worked for a bit. About an hour or so later, it started beeping again. It wasn't full, it just kept coming up with some sort of error thing. And that nurse that wasn't trained in this nurse that I called up again wasn't trained in using the machine, but she decided to just turn it off, which I told her not to, but she didn't listen to me. So she turned it off, and then throughout that night I just kept waking up bleeding, like bleeding heavily from my leg, because obviously there was like a hole or something that had appeared somewhere, so blood was coming out. And all they kept doing was bandaging me up, so come the morning I couldn't even like move my leg because it was weighed down like a cement brick. Yeah, that was Thursday. I woke up where I've been bleeding. Come the Friday, when they were gonna take my temporary cast down and obviously change the dressing and things like that. And when they done that, they opened me up. There was just like blood everywhere. I had one of the biggest blood clots I have personally seen in my life, and I got pictures of it. I got pictures of every stage that I went through during the 6-7 weeks, whatever it was. And so yeah, I had a big blood clot on it. It took them about 2.5 hours to clean it and attempt to put a new sort of dressing thing on it, but they couldn't quite manage it, so my consultant come up and had to do it herself, which she wasn't happy about, and she kicked off and went mental at them and said that the care I was receiving in Bournemouth, and she said that they've got no more skills than looking after bunions and corns, I think it was she said. So she was absolutely livid down there of the care I was receiving. So she got me transferred to Poole on the Sunday, I think it was. I went there, and yeah. So I arrived in Poole, went to Poole Hospital. I went down on Monday into theatre for. They put me asleep and then cleaned me out, and then I think that was about hour or 2 hour operation, something like that they were cleaning me out, obviously where Bournemouth messed up and turned the machine on. So I woke up, I was on the vac again. And then there was a lot of talk about me going to Salisbury to have a skin graft. Whilst I was in Poole, there was talk about it in Bournemouth before, because obviously after the operation and they had to get rid of the skin, I need some new skin to go over the wound, the open wound. And then whilst I was in Poole, I was having the dressing changed 3 times a week. So I was put in a temporarily back splint cast, they called it. So the back of it was like full sort of hard cast, and then it was just bandage wrapped around it. And for the dressing of over the foot, they used can't remember what it was called. It was like metal tarpis cape or something like that. It was basically like a real sticky form of like cling film sort of thing, but I mean like extremely sticky version. So they would use all that, and then they would use messy sort of stuff over like the wound sort of area and connect it to a tube, which then connected to the vac, and when you turn the vac on, it would suck it all, and then basically over the wound it would go like dried fruit. It would just sort of like go like that, and then obviously once you had that, that was good. That was a good sign. It meant that the vac could do its job in what it was doing. So I spent about 10, 11 days, I think it was in pool, just over a week. Whilst I was waiting for a bed to come available up in Salisbury, and for them to sort of arrange what I needed to have done while I got there. So a Friday come, I eventually got told by a nurse in pool that I was gonna be transferred to Salisbury. So I basically, well, between me and a few nurses, packed up all my shit that I had in pool with me, like cards and all stuff from relatives and friends. Packed all that away into bags, and then I went off to Salisbury. I arrived at Salisbury, got put into a little side room. They took everything down and basically looked at it all, and they said, "Oh yeah, just be skin graft, be quite simple." Um, so I waited over the weekend. Monday come, and then I was going down for a clean out, and for them to do, well, possibly skin graft and what else they were thinking of. Um, I woke up. Yeah, woke up the Monday. I was on a vac machine yet again, and these vac machines wasn't like I was on before. They were big bulky things. Um, Basically, the surgeons come round, said, "Oh, we can do a skin graft." Basically, the wound had got infected. They had to take all the, they had to strip it back down to its original bone and the metalwork that they put in Bournemouth, which I never got to see any of this because it was covered up. I then had, whilst I was up in Salisbury, I had 3 more clean outs that they had to do to just keep making sure that the infection was gone. Once the infection was gone, they talked about doing a free flap, which I'll explain that one now. Before you have a free flap done, with me, because obviously I'm wheelchair bound, my blood circulation in my lower limbs is not as great as what a walking person's would be. So I had to go through, well, I had to undergo 2 tests before it. One of them being like a normal ultra scan, which is very similar to what a lady has when she's pregnant. They put that gel on you and then move one of those things and listen to your blood flow in your, well, for me it was in my right thigh, because obviously that's what they had to check for my right foot. So I had that done, and then I passed that with flying colours. And then I had to have another scan called an Angelo scan, which I thought it was just going to be a regular scan, which no, it's not. What they done was they went in through my groin and pierced through the main artery that you've got in your groin. And then they pump you full of this dye, and they take photographs via X-ray of the dye running down your leg to see where it goes through the veins and arteries, things like that. It hurt. It was extremely uncomfortable. At the time when it was happening, I felt like they had like fully cut open my groin, and then later on I realised the hole was no bigger than like when you squeeze a spot in your face, which was crazy. But every time they inject the dye into you and like it flows down, you get this like warm sensation, and then it feels like you've wet yourself, which proper was uncomfortable, and I had that pumped into me about 15 times. It lasted a fair few hours. That was down there for. And then, but yeah, that one went great. Another great result on that one. And then, it come around to having the free flap procedure done, which is like a 8-9 hour operation. I think my one worked it out to be about 10. So, what it was they 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 took everything sort of good out of my left thigh, which was skin, muscle, fat, veins, arteries, things like that. They took that out of my left thigh, uh, microscoped it and graphed it, whatever they call it, and basically plumbed all the goodness down into my foot, and like attached it up to arteries, vessels, stuff like that. So yeah, again, I was a seat for it, so I don't really know what it was like, but the anaesthetist plumbed my leg full of nerve blockers and stuff, so when I woke up in the night time, I didn't feel a thing. But when I first woke up after that operation, I looked like a thing out of Star Trek. I had tubes coming out of me left, right and centre. I had a machine on me called a bear hugger, which basically was like a hot sort of quilt, and they were pumping hot air into it. Basically, they were like cooking me to keep the skin alive, the new skin I'd put on my foot. I had another vac on me again because again the operation went great, but I had a new hole in my thigh that they could not close. So I had to wait. I had the free flap on the Thursday, and then come the Tuesday of next week, I went into theatre again for a skin graft. So yeah, and I also had a pin in my foot that they put in Bournemouth, and I thought this thing was like tiny. It was basically keeping my foot straight, and it was only literally like sticking out of my heel about that much. But I had that removed when they done the skin graft too, and it turned out to be, well, I asked to keep it, but they wouldn't allow me. So, but I did get to see it once I woke up, and no word of a lie, it was like 2 pens put together. It was huge. So God knows how far it went up my foot and sort of up my leg. but it was real long. So yeah, that's basically what I had to go through. And here's the real kicker. I've only actually had one foot done. I've got to go back at some point to have the left foot done, because I'm not having one good foot and one horrible looking foot. I'd rather have two flat feet. So at some point I need to not go through all of it again, because my surgeon down in Bournemouth, I did see him when I was in Poole, and he said to me he was going to do a different procedure, so then it wouldn't, he's going to try and take out like more bone, so then it will counter react and make the skin more stretchier. But I mean, once I get to see him again, then I'll decide on what happens. But I am, like I said, at some point gonna have the operation done on the other foot. I'm just hoping that by him saying doing this other sort of doing it a bit differently, I need to know personally that that's gonna work 100% before I sign off or agree on it. So yeah, I went into hospital on August 22nd, and I got out on the 5th of October, I think it was. So I was in there some time, and they worked on me a lot. I had like 6 operations altogether, 4 minor ones and 2 major ones. One of them was like real major, that 3 flat procedure. There was but Salisbury had a good reputation for doing them. It's what they done quite a lot, and all the nurses and surgeons I had up there, they were all absolutely fantastic. The only problem in Salisbury was the food. It was pretty awful. But thingy was just awful. Hospital Bournemouth. Poole was good. I like they had good food. They had good nurses too. The care I received up there was good. So I would say Poole and Salisbury were definitely my 2 picks out of 3. Yeah. So now you know my story. So yeah, I will leave it open to wherever you watch this video, whether it's YouTube, my Facebook, anything, wherever I post it to, basically. If there's any questions you want to ask me, or whether it's other FA members that want to know stuff, whether I'm happy with the operation, how it went, whatever you want to know, basically ask away, and I will try my best to answer whatever questions come. And I'd also like to do a public thank you to everyone that posted nice comments and sent out good vibes, and to my friends and family that have supported me all the way through this. So yes, I would like to say a big thank you to all them, and also a big thank you to whoever's watching this video. So I will sign off now. Goodbye.